back to Tiff Talks Podcast. This is Tiffany Marie Davis, and I'm so excited to bring in the new year 2021. You know, I really want to talk about the year 2020 and reflection. That was a big eye-opener. And I personally think that in the year 2020, you guys, if you didn't get a learning from it, let me just tell you right now, 2020 was the year of learning to me. And a lot of people were saying going into 2020 is going to be the year of clarity. Boy, was it the year of clarity. And if you didn't get a learning from 2020, turn this podcast off right now. Just turn it off. You gotta go back and do some reflecting, because if you didn't learn anything from 2020, you have a very long road in 2021. I'm going to share a little bit about my story. You guys heard my episode 1 with my amazing co-host, Farras. I do have her on. She'll be chiming in a little bit, but we're going to get really, really into the meat of 2020. We talked about my story. We talked about how I got here. But let's talk about the year 2020, because fast forwarding, 33 years in my life, 2020, I would have to say, was one of the most challenging, hurtful, exciting, biggest blessing year. There's just so much. I mean, I could go on for hours about this, but we're not going to. What I will tell you is, going into 2020, I had the best New Year's Eve of my life. I had so much fun, going into, I think I had just won a big retreat for my company. And as we rolled up, I think it was like 3 weeks into January, as we rolled up, we had just gotten the news that Kobe Bryant had just died. And that just moved waves with the entire world. I mean, he was an incredible man. I was very fortunate of getting to meet him when I worked at the Wynn. He was one of our clients, and him and his family were just absolutely beautiful. Vanessa Bryant, she's just an incredible woman. But really looking back from that point forward and how we just spiraled with every event possible. I mean, we went into, we came back home from that retreat, and it was still so surreal. Then all of a sudden, we were getting flashed with COVID-19, things are hitting us left and right, not knowing if we're going to get shut down or we are getting shut down. And I had to let go of toxic relationships in a prior business during that time. Talk about scary. Some of my best friends and family were getting furloughed and laid off. And we were, from mid-January to March, like the whole world was upside down. And during that time, I made another scary decision. I let go of relationships that didn't serve me, which obviously there was people talking about me behind my back and saying hurtful and untrue things, all because I wanted to choose integrity and choose the health of my family. I also pivoted into a brand new company. Talk about scary. I had to rebuild an entire business from scratch, a virtual franchise during that time, because when COVID hit, nobody could go back to work. I wasn't getting unemployment. It was a very scary time, but we chose to pivot. And I say we, because, I obviously, you can't do this without healthy people in your life. I truly believe in that, without having someone in your life to help push you along the way. And that's why, you've heard me say it before, but your circle is the most important part of any life crisis, life celebration, whatever that looks like, because they can tear you apart, or they can build you up, or you start to pick up those habits, or, there's just so many things. So, that's one, I would say, my first piece of advice, okay, into any world crisis, life crisis, anything like that, is choosing your circle wisely. Because no matter what's going on in the world, you still have you and your people to help you in every way, shape, and form, in every shape and form, because of the fact that you have, that powerful word. The words of affirmation they're very powerful. I know that I needed to have a lot of positive words during this time because it was scary. You know, during this time, there was also this whole election that went up and down, and it's still going up and down. You know, it's January 3rd. And I will tell you that even with the election and everything happening, it still doesn't decipher your mindset, your wellness, your entire being of 2020. We had the same yesterday, we had the same 5 years ago. And really, if we look at where we're going, is if you can reflect and take a learning from each experience, which I'm sure a lot of us have, you know, the word gratitude comes into play, blessings come into play. However, learning is the biggest thing that we get to do. And I'm going to bring Farras on here now because she had just said something prior to coming on the podcast, and I thought it was perfect timing. And I was like, all right, you're coming on because we're going to talk about this too. Sometimes you got to get a little messy. Sometimes you got to just get out there and fail. And you get to give yourself that 5 minutes of sitting in your shit, but you really also get to give yourself grace during that. And you also allow yourself to fail forward. And during this time, I do want to tell you that because I chose to pivot, because I chose to let go of relationships, and because I had to go through all of the downward spiral, I was able to create a podcast in the midst of this. I was able to create an additional $35,000 into my home during a time where, everything was hitting the fan and didn't know where we were going to get income in just a few months. But because I chose to not give up and I chose to fail forward, because I did fail and I did have PTSD and I did have relationships that, I unfortunately brought bad energy into because I didn't know how to handle the good when it was staring me in the face. And there's just a whole learning of failing forward. And Farras, I want to talk about your journey a little bit too, because you were one of those best friends of mine that was furloughed, and your experience and journey through that.
Yeah, gosh, 2020 really never saw it coming. And started the year just like any other year. For me, I had some personal issues that had arose, and it's funny you say that. Looking at my memories on my social media, and today was actually one of those days where things in personal relationships just went complete 180. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's a new year. Like, we can't be doing this. And at the time, we were in the same business together and we went to the same, event together. And the day I came back, going back to Kobe, it was my daughter's birthday. And my husband is a huge Lakers fan. And it was not ideal on any terms. Going back to work, I used to work in the wedding industry, and we would see people from all over the world. So when we heard about coronavirus, I really didn't think about it. I was just like, whatever, it's just like swine flu, and it's just like all these other things. And I didn't really take it seriously until I got the call. Like, hey, we're letting you go. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'll see you in 30 days. At this time, the lockdown was happening. And they're like, no, we're not going to call you back after the 30 days. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. Sounds good. And for a while I was okay. And I was just like, all right, well, this is fine. I was one of those people that was blessed enough to have unemployment. And I was like, okay, well, this will be okay for a while. And then things got really real. And that's when me and you started to collaborate. And it was super scary. And talk about learning. I've learned so much this year. And I've failed a lot. I've cried a lot. I've gone through a lot. But I've also come out to the other side to where it's like, I have to be grateful for so many things. And just like with, personal relationships and people that no longer serve you in your circle, I've had to let a lot of people go. And just in the last couple of weeks, because it's either they were superficial relationships that were just kind of there, and when you're doing well, they were only there because they wanted to benefit, or they really weren't your friends at all, to be honest. So I've had a lot of things going on. So when you talk about learning and failing forward, it's a huge thing. I think 2020 is definitely big. And I seen a quote the other day that said, going into 2021 with 2020 vision, which is so true, because we
Ooh.
can't, yeah, we can't go and do anything like we used to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I remember New Year's Eve going into 2020, and everyone's like, oh, it's going to be the year of vision, and it's going to be this. And it's like, it was a reality check. And if you didn't get a reality check on any level, and I know some people have been really fortunate enough to continue working, still have their jobs, and they're still doing the normal things. Perfect
Yeah.
example, my husband. And I'm sure your husband to an extent.
Yep.
Nothing has really changed for them.
Mm-mm.
Depending on the industry that you're in, it's nothing has changed, which is great. But there's a huge chunk, I think about 80% of Americans, that everything is different, especially here in Las Vegas. Like, it is completely different. So if you don't try to go out there and make an income other ways, whether it's side hustle, whether it's a new business, whether it's a virtual franchise, whether it's starting a podcast, or whatever thing that you do best, and just kind of go into that niche of yours and figure out what it is. I don't know what you're going to do in 2021, because if you had plenty of time to figure it out. And I think I kind of got scared a little bit there too, because I have a lot of different adventures that I'm doing now. But at the same time, like you said, like, I'm so grateful, because I don't want to be doing what I used to do. I don't
Right.
want to go into an office. I don't want to, I just don't want to do that anymore. And call me crazy, but it feels so much better, and my circle is better, and I've learned how to fail. And going into this, there's going to be more failures.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, I always said that I was afraid to fail. I was afraid. But I'm not afraid to fail, because when I fail, I learn. And when I learn, that I know what not to do going forward.
Amen. So failing forward, I think that's a big thing. The biggest thing I took away from that was going into 2021 with 2020 vision. And, things aren't the same. It really isn't. And we don't see the light at the end of the tunnel quite yet. Those masks, I can't even with them right now. I just like, we all walk out of everywhere. Like we just walked out of a 12-hour surgery. It's something that just doesn't, for us, like, it just doesn't make sense sometimes of how we're able to do certain things. And, we see all of these businesses hurting. And again, going back into pivoting into multiple sources of income. There is no more just plan A, plan B. Plan A is multiple sources of income, and really honing in on your niche is something that you hit on as well. That's very important. I think in September, was it September? Right before my birthday, I had a meltdown. I had the biggest meltdown of my life. And it was, you had worked so hard for 33 years, and you have to build from scratch again, and you're in a place where you're like, all right. You start giving yourself all of the boo-hoos and woe is me conversations, and it's just been that uphill battle. However, I always say that with every breakdown there's a major breakthrough. And finding your niche is something that's so important. And I did my own personal tool exercise that I've put together to really look and see what that looks like. And for me, it's, what am I passionate about? What is your burning desire? And I always have had the same answer since I was 11 years old, and it was to serve others. And I just love helping people. I don't know where that got instilled in me, but I do know that my heart and my everything inside of me just lights up when I know that I'm helping someone. There's nothing like getting a text message that says, hey, thank you so much for saving my marriage, saving my life, helping me with wellness. And, there's been many, Farras, losing over 60 pounds to get into the dress of her dreams for her wedding. Like, there's just nothing like it. And during that time, it's, there's 3 things that you can write down. What is your, if you guys have a notebook, pull out a notebook. Okay. Let's do a little niche talking. What is your ultimate fire, your burning desire in life? What are you passionate in? And if you don't know that yet, start thinking about what you do on a daily basis. Do you have a hobby? Do you like to work out? Those are things that if you start to move your body, even just 20 minutes a day, going outside, things like that, start to find what that passion is. Even on that walk, you're going to get happy endorphins. You're going to start thinking about, what fuels you, what's your creative side, what's going to be the purpose for you and your family. Like, start digging deep. So that's my number 1. What is your burning desire? What's your passion? What fuels you? Number 2, what does your wellness look like? What does the wellness of your family dynamic look like? What is the wellness of your mindset? What is the wellness of your health? Think about that for a second, because without wellness, everything around you is going to be either dying off, sick. Okay. The word sick doesn't have to be, a virus. The word sick can be, you can look at your relationship and the relationships around you, whether, you start to get that like turning in your stomach, and look at the wellness of your health. Look at the wellness of your life. Look at the wellness of your relationships. That's number 2. Number 3, why did you get started in the first place of really wanting to look at your burning desire, your passion, your wellness? Having a deep why is so important going into any aspect of your life. So I want to talk about 2021 and really, I think it's funny when people are like, new year, new you. Here's the thing. And I might, have some disagreements here. I might have some agreements here. However, it's the same you, just new goals. Don't change anything about you unless it's mindset, wellness. Be you, because the world loves you and you were made, whether it's, by God, whatever higher source you believe in, you were made very special for a reason. And you honestly just get to really understand what that gem inside of you looks like. And when I say gem, we all have a gem. We all have something special. We're all designed unique. We're humans. And as humans, we have something that no one else has. And you get to hone in on that. And really going into 21, it's setting fresh goals, adapt and overcome. What didn't work last year? What do I get to do differently this year? And also, I started a vision board. I've done like vision boards in the past, but this year is going to be different. And I think that's where a missing piece of my puzzle is because, like Farras had said earlier, going into 2021 with 2020 vision, I need to see this. I need to see every single day what that vision board is telling me, that with that, new energy, that new, reset. It's really a reset to what didn't work. Okay. Every day is a blank canvas if you look at it, right? So going into 2021, it's no different than what you were like in 2020. Every day just starts with a blank canvas and what you get to create moving forward. And I know 2021, one of our biggest goals was to help as many people as possible. We created and I say we because Farras did a lot of back end work to this with all of my knowledge. And what we've done is we've created a wellness guide. And you guys hear me preach about it, but if your health is not right, again, remember, everything around you is not going to flow, that ebb and flow. It's going to be that push and pull, right? You're going to be pushing and pulling. But when everything starts to feel good from the inside out, that's when everything around you flows. So, for example, we have wellness guides that help you walk through each stage of a wellness routine. Every 21 days, you create a new habit. Staying consistent is going to be my word of I would say 2021, consistency, consistency, consistency. High level of communication with self and others around you would be my number 2. Number 3 is going to be mindset. What are you doing 10 minutes a day to learn, to give yourself a little bit of personal development, a little bit of learning? Because if you're not personally developing, you're dying. If you're not growing, you're dying. Think about a root. If you're not constantly watering that root in the soil, it's not going to grow to its full potential. And that's the way that our brains are. That's the way that our hearts are. If we're not learning something and we're staying comfortable and stagnant, we're going to get nowhere. So going back into giving just tangible things to do. We have wellness guides. You can go on to my Instagram. You can go into the show notes. It's tiffanymarie-davis.com. That should be a first start. They're on sale right now. They are something that will help you get this year knocked in the butt. And it's lifestyle eating around freedom, because we also want to be able to do this around family. We want to be able to do this while we eat out. There's guides for that as well. And it's really learning how to stay in shape 24/7. And it's not just with your body. It's also with your mind. It's also with the way that you respond to people. Like, let me just tell you guys, because let's just say you have a dirty house, and Farras and I were just talking about this earlier. Think about what you're doing to your body. That is what you have to live with every single day of your life, is your body. And if your body is dirty and cluttered and unhealthy on the inside, what do you think your mindset and mood is going to be like? Because I know when my dishes aren't clean and my house is turned upside down, I am like a monster and I am not happy. You feel me, Farras?
I feel you on that. I mean, I don't know, with Christmas and everything, it's been a little crazy, but that totally makes sense. It's, and I never thought about it that way. And that's a really good way to put it. How you said that is like, you have a dirty house. I mean, think about that as your body. And it's super, super important. And I've kind of been doing a beta test in a sense with the wellness guides. And I found out that I have a gluten intolerance. There were a few things going on with me that I couldn't really explain it. I was kind of like, oh, well, why do I have these bumps on my arm? And why does this happen? And why does this happen? And I started following the guide. And I think today, honestly, is going to be 30 days. And me and my husband have been following the guide, and it's been a game changer. There's also intermittent fasting that we talk about as well, and just incorporating what is in there, and the fact that you've taken the time to make that and make it what it is. It's honestly, it's delicious. It's nothing different than what I've normally been doing, except changing a few things, changing my portion sizes. I've always been the type of person that likes to feed so many people, and I cook that way. Well, I'm a family of 3. So why am I cooking for a herd when I have a family of 3? There's no point in doing it. We don't eat leftovers, so that's just out of the window altogether. And I've seen some great things. I feel better. My mindset is better. I feel energized. I feel ready to go. I used to, be honest with you, quarantine happened. It was bad for me. I just ate everything under the sun. And I was taking multiple naps during the day. I mean, multiple, you guys. Like, I'm not saying like just one because I need just a little boost, multiple times a day.
Well, and I think a lot of people can relate with you on that. There's people that are emotional eaters during high levels of stress, and there's times where you can't control it. However, having the right type of people around you to support you. I mean, how many times have I pulled you out of that? Say, all right, we now it's to a point where you're helping me too. But there's going to be that circle, and I'm telling you, because that's where you're going to be able to pull yourself out of things. And we have a community we're building this year that's very special. I know that we'll be able to give you guys some more information on that. But I will tell you that you're going to have unlimited access to us, especially with the guides, which is really special because it's something that, like you said, it teaches you how to not emotionally eat as well, because it gives you that structure. And a lot of people are like you, they don't like leftovers. However, that's where you plan ahead, right? And it goes over that planning ahead for the family. There's people that like fresh food every night. Great. If that works for you and you have the time, great. And that's really special if you can do that. But if not, always plan ahead. And I always say, get to your day before it gets to you. That's one of my mottos. And with going into fresh goals, new year, new you, we've also, I guess I really want to talk about attitude. The biggest thing that you want to do going into 2021, again, another few key pointers, is to be careful what you speak into existence. That's another learning that I've taken away from 2020, right? Because whatever you say, you start to see more of, and what you focus on expands. And even in our mentorship programs as well, we've had to do a lot of undoing. We've helped a lot of, people, and we've had someone very special, she's completely just flipped a switch, and it's really beautiful to see her grow. But 2020 put a lot of attitude dampers, and it's like, well, it's just the norm now, or it's this, or like nothing's getting better, or, and it's again, it's what you make of it. And I know all of us could take this number one advice away going into 2021 is your attitude. Be careful what you speak into existence. Number two, and I wrote these down because this is something that I'm going to heavily focus on going into 2021. And I just wanted to share a few of my mindset secrets now. Now that we've gone over the wellness aspect, let's go into some mental wellness. Two is give yourself grace and forgiveness. That was a tough one for me. I'm very hard on myself. I'm an Enneagram 1, and it's a perfectionist trait that I probably have just developed since a child. And it was, if I'm not doing 110%, I'm failing no matter what, and it's okay to fail. It's okay to fail. You learn and do your best work through the fails. And that is a big learning that I know for sure could speak a lot of volume into all of you guys. Is, I heard Farras say it earlier. She said that she was afraid to fail. The minute you let go of being afraid to fail and understand that when you fail, it's okay. I'll be honest, takes about 3 or 4 days to go through your mental ups and downs in your head.
100%.
Once it's a week, then you have your friend call you out. But you give yourself grace and forgiveness. I'm kind of going back. I always choose a word for the year. 2020 was the year of gratitude, and I'm still grateful. I mean, we started a podcast, we launched a brand, we created a virtual franchise from scratch from another company, gained a lot of amazing relationships, let go of relationships that didn't serve, forgave those who did come back, and, acknowledge where we get to grow in relationship. And I created a deeper love for family time. Drove me nuts sometimes, but as any parent or any, woman, period, where you're getting lots of at home time, you're like, when do we get a break? So I let me just tell you, moms, I have a lot of compassion for homeschool. So grace and forgiveness. Just remember that. So, 2021, give yourself grace and forgiveness. 3, do some sort of personal development. And remember that all of this is a learning cycle. And the only way you get off that cycle is to remember to jump off when you start to feel the drift. Now, what are a few things that you do to avoid a situation? Do you laugh? Do you clean the house? Do you, look at other situations and kind of like deflect and like push it off to the side? Is there anything that you could think of that you just completely deflect? That's number 3, is to remember to jump off the cycle. Okay. Because whatever didn't work before is not going to work this year. Okay. 4, this will be your biggest year if you let it.
Love that.
Allow 2021 to work for you. Everything that happens to you is happening for you. Remember that. That's a big one. Number 5, new season, new vision. New season, new vision. That's a big one. So going into 2021, again, number one, attitude. Be careful what you speak into existence. 2, give yourself grace and forgiveness. 3, remember the learning cycle. What makes you drift or avoid instead of getting to what it is that you need to address so that way you can learn from it. Fail forward. That's a big one for me. Number 4, this will be your biggest year if you let it. Allow the space of 2021 to work in your favor. It's there if you want it. Okay. And number 5, new season, new vision. What is your vision? Going back to the first official 2021 nuggets that I gave you with wellness, making sure your wellness is on point, finding your niche, what's your passion and what drives you. And if you don't know, start doing little things day in and day out, that whether it's going up for a walk, moving your body 20 minutes a day to get super clear on what you're passionate about. Are you one of those people that used to draw and you just stopped drawing? Are you one of those people that used to write and stopped writing? Why did that stop? Especially if that was your passion and that's what drove you and you loved doing it. When did you stop doing the things that you loved? And remember, wellness is key. You're going to find all of this in the show notes, you guys. Also, go to tiffanymarie-davis.com. You're going to have our wellness guides. You're going to also have our mentorship programs available. There's so much coming in 2021. We're so excited to release. You're going to have my favorite wellness hacks. We're going to, at some point, have merchandise as well. So just be really excited for what's coming. Know that we're here for you every step of the way. We're going to be producing a lot of one-on-one time. We're going to be doing some mindset training. We're going to it's so much that we're going to have the works. So anyway, I'm going to be signing off and we will talk to you again here on Tiff Talks. And we are so excited to see what you guys are creating here for 2021. Remember, this will be your biggest year if you let it. Let's go, 2021.
Yeah.